I understand the books are different. They're better. They always are.
Okay, we get it.
Skipping through the end times.
Hey, Dave. We're back yet again.
Yeah.
Episode
I was just
11.
watching The Last of Us and I didn't see you there.
What a great forced segue. That was awesome, dude.
I was working on that one. Yeah, thanks.
Well, let's get right into it then. We're caught up on The Last of Us. This week it threw a little bit of a monkey wrench into the plans because they released the episode on Friday because they're so afraid of the Super Bowl that they can't release the show on the same day or anywhere in the vicinity.
It's called The Big Game. It's not called you can't call it the Super Bowl. Okay.
Oh, is that a trademark thing that they will charge for if you even say it?
Yes.
Wow. Well, the big
costs us $7.50.
The game is so big that even uttering its actual name will get you fined. So that's good to know.
Yeah, it's like Voldemort. You got to be careful how you talk about it.
Well, save that transition for later because we have more to talk about Voldemort. That was foreshadowing, though. That was beautiful. That was unplanned. So this week, Last of Us Episode 5 dropped. I don't think we've talked about Episode 4, so maybe we start there. Before we get started, Producer Vince, you in the house?
I don't think he's in the house. I think he's...
Hey, I'm in the apartment,
he's
dude.
here!
Wow, you got those hotkeys working, huh?
I got the hotkeys, dude. It's a click, but we'll get the hotkeys next week.
Okay,
you
great.
Fancy out-of-focus background.
You racked focus, young man. All right, so we're all caught up. Let's start on Episode 4. I'll start out. I liked Episode 4. I thought it was awesome. There you go. I'll explain. I'll deconstruct that a little bit, but
yeah, that was detailed. Yeah, I almost felt like it was kind of cool. I watched 4 and 5 back to back like 20 minutes ago, so I'm still a little emotionally wrecked, but yeah, it was cool. Like I felt like that was like 4 and 5 is almost like one movie.
Yeah,
so kind of made sense to have them together.
Yeah, Episode 4, I felt like, again, I feel like I have to qualify myself as not a person that didn't play the game. But man, I feel like
it's like the scarlet letter that you have to wear. You have to tell everybody beforehand. Now, before you hear my opinion, I did not play the game, and then they shame you, and then you can move on and then have an opinion.
Well, it's my way of keeping people at an arm's distance, so that way, if they think I played the game, if I start talking about the show and they're like, "Oh, the game," da 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 da, I'm like, "No,
the game.
Hold on, I don't know where this is all going, so please don't ruin it for me."
That's what I do with Harry Potter when I have to be like, "I didn't read the books. Okay, I only read the first book in 6th grade."
I understand the books are different. They're better. They always are.
Okay, we get it.
But I thought this episode was awesome, and the performances from Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey I thought were awesome, and I thought their characters and their characters' relationship. This is really kind of a turning point episode, and I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought like the running joke of the joke was awesome. And I loved the way that they kind of landed the episode with, Joel being the one to figure out the joke and use that as kind of their bonding. But I felt like it gave me a lot more about Ellie's character that I've kind of been looking for. It endeared me more to that character. But yeah, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a great episode. And it, especially coming off of Episode 3 where it was such a, we diverged a little bit from the overall storyline. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I like that moment. Like there's some moments that were like just supernatural, not supernatural, but supernatural about like what you're saying, really like character building, like relationship things with Ellie and Joel. Like, like in the game, she gets I played the game. In the game, she gets the joke. Like 4 and 5, like really like there were like very little things that they changed from the game, which was a good call, I think. Like the joke book was like, it's such a cool thing. Like that's in the game, and it really kind of shows a different side to Ellie, and like she's less like sort of like vicious and more just like you see more of her like innocence and reminded, she's 14. Yeah, some like I laughed a few times like when she's like in the sleeping bag, she's like, Joel.
Yeah,
like yells at him.
Yeah, and I thought Joel was really contrasted, in this episode too, because of Ellie, and like where they're able to kind of meet in the middle of, the scene that sticks out to me is where he's basically like, "I'm sorry, you shouldn't have to see this." He's basically apologizing for the pandemic or the epidemic or whatever it's called in this game.
For the lockdowns.
He's apologizing for he's a COVID apologist, but I thought that was really cool the way he had they've done a really good job of portraying this character, and Pedro Pascal, the performance aspect of it is awesome as well, because he's this guarded dude, and to see his humanity come out and the wall kind of coming down, which you assume it will at some point because of this story, and you've kind of seen this story before, but in the Mandalorian. But I feel like this episode was great for that, for purely character wise. I thought
he's
it
all
was
your
awesome.
Cargo, Baby Yoda. I mean, Ellie. Should we take that one again?
He's like, they're like, whoa, you're mixing IPs here, okay? And again, don't say Super Bowl in this take. All right, let's run it again. You're gonna charge the whole studio. But yeah, I think like that was the first episode where I went, oh, okay, I understand now why they cast him specifically in this role, because he's able to kind of carry that weight of a guy who is heroic in certain instances, but he's a little bit more nebulous in terms of the means justifying the ends. And I just love that little character moment where they're having these conversations. On the other side, Ellie is also revealing more of her fears and what she's afraid of throughout all of this stuff. And it's cool to see them kind of relate in that. And they've set that up really well.
Yeah, especially when she's like, this is episode 5, but like at the end when she's like writing down, Henry's like, you don't seem scared. Like, why aren't you scared? And she's like, oh, I'm always scared.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, especially, in these episodes, you start to see kind of the chinks in the armor of Joel, and how like he is a person. And like,
yeah,
he doesn't always, it's like he's still trying to like parent, or at least be like an authority figure. And like, you can tell, through the performance too, where like there's moments where like he doesn't really know like what to do. Like any parent, like he doesn't really like have the answers.
Right.
He has to kind of like make it up as he go along. Like I was interested to know like he was gonna react when like Ellie's revealed that she's like has this gun, and uses it. Like it's like, okay, how's he gonna react to that? Because it's like maybe she was right that she should have had a gun the whole time.
Well, and she was proven right because she saved his life. And that was cool. I mean, that was because like that's in her back pocket, and we're waiting for the moment where that setup is revealed or paid off. And I thought it was cool. They get into Kansas City. That whole scene was really rad. I loved when they're rolling into Kansas City, and her being this little innocent kid is like, are you gonna stop to help him? And he's just like, no, puts it in reverse, and then it just goes, and I thought that the setup from episode 4, you're very right. This definitely ties into episode 5. So the setup at the end of episode 4,
I thought about it as just real quick, the that's bait meme, when he's like the guy's like, help me, like coming out of behind the building.
Yeah.
Like, nope, that guy's doesn't need help.
So at the end of episode 4, Joel and Ellie are confronted or awoken. Joel is woken by Ellie, who has a gun pointed to her head by a new character named Henry, played by Lamar Johnson. And I want to specifically call out the actors of these two roles because I thought they were amazing and so nuanced in episode 5. Lamar Johnson plays Henry, and then his brother Sam is played by Kevon Woodard, and that really pays off and transitions well into episode 5. They kind of Tarantino it, where you start on these new set of characters, and they go back and they show you their story up until the moment that we see them interact and intersect with Joel and Ellie in a way that, like, I kept thinking about our discussion about episode 3 in this one, because I think we all agree episode 3 we enjoyed, was really well done, but for me, it deviated a lot off that main story. And this one, it kind of did the exact thing I was kind of looking for in that one, where it's established these new characters, told their story, but it also brought Joel and Ellie's story along for the ride, so to speak, because he crashes his car. Get it? It kind of makes sense when you think about it.
Good.
So I thought that was really well executed.
You got a truckload of jokes now,
dude. I'm just
that wasn't very good. I'll think of some better ones.
I'm just banging on all cylinders here, man. That's a mechanic joke. If my mechanic friends out there will.
That wasn't good, but we can
one.
edit that out, so don't worry about it. It's okay.
Well, The hard part is choosing which of the bad jokes we actually do want to use. So that's where the real
just say 7 of them, and then
yeah,
we'll pick one later.
just bash people over the head with it. But what did you think about that, Dave?
Bad.
What did you think of? Caught you off guard with that one. What did you think of those performances? And again, kind of tell me, I guess, like how does episode 5 relate with the game? How much of what we saw in episode 5 was also included in the game, or how much of it was kind of used differently for the show?
I'm still reeling from it, or should I say wheeling? All right. Yeah, I again, like, I want to call out the art department that worked on this. Like, where's the Moss guy? Because dude, like, I don't know, like I'm just amazed how, like, okay, like I think it was episode 4 when they went into the or no, was it 5? No, it was 5 when they're going down into the tunnels and they find the area that was like one of the original like quarantine zones that people went in. It's got all the like kids' toys and stuff like that. Like, that's another like set that's just like so close to the game. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, it seemed like like my memories just came back, and it was like, but it's not just like certain props. It's like the shape of the buildings like look the same as the game. It's like wild. Yeah, but and then like, as soon as I heard her say, because like I played the game 7 years ago, so it's like it's been a long time. Like, I don't remember that much stuff. But as soon as like I think it's Kathleen said, like, mentioned Henry, I was like, oh shit, Henry.
Yeah.
And then like the crayon, like when you get in the crayon room, and it's just like, because when you find in the game, it's crazy because there's just crayon drawings everywhere around you, and you're like, what is this? Why? But yeah, that was great. And like I agree with you. I thought 4 and 5, like, these episodes are like are like the story at its best. Like, this is when the game was at its best. These are my favorite areas so far. 5 is probably my favorite episode so far.
Yeah.
Just how emotional it was, and we're like, I think it's at its best when it's exploring like all those gray areas of humanity. Where like, again, like, you don't have the answers to everything. Like, Ellie and Joel have this conversation about like, she's like, oh, like, well, did you kill innocent people? Sort of like in a way of like needing him to have the comfort of saying like, no, of course I didn't. But then he just says nothing. And it's like, it's just really exploring that of like, and then it's revealed like Ellie's like hurt some people before and she's 14. And like, yeah, I just thought that was so great. And like, oh man, and the ending sniper stuff is like, that was another moment where like memories of the game just came flooding back. Cause like hearing those like even the sound design of like the guns like increment of like going off like made me it's like,
yeah,
just like monotonously like firing the sniper rifle. It's like, oh my god, I remember this part. And I remember how hard it was, like when you have to grab the sniper rifle and you have to hit the right things or else like everyone dies. Like, you have to hit, like, I think you have to actually hit the truck driver like exactly how they did it. But yeah, I thought this was awesome. Like, I forgot about all the stuff of like the truck like disturbing a bunch of them that come up from the ground. And then of course like the bloater that comes up, like they're called bloaters in the game, and there's these huge massive like tank like dudes. So that looked awesome. That was like really cool. And then as soon as that happens, I remembered like how it all played out with Henry and Sam, I think his name was. I was like, oh no. I know.
So that element of it was pretty accurate or was included in the game.
Yeah, it's super accurate. Like exactly everything that plays out at the end is like pretty much exactly what happens. It's like super emotional. And then I remembered like this is still really early in the game when that happened. So I'm remembering like, oh, there's a lot to go left. Like, that's kind of the first thing they encounter that's like really like messes them up, because they sort of got to know these brothers. Yeah, I'll mention too some other things that I was like pulling up some articles that were like the differences between the game and the show. Let's see. Yeah, so he's not in the game. He's not deaf.
That was one of my questions.
I was
Yeah.
trying to remember if he was or not. And so they added that, which was interesting. And I guess the actor is also actually deaf, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
In a way, it's like we've kind of like for some reason it's like we've seen a lot of characters that are deaf in the last like few years. It's like really come to the forefront. I think there's been like 3 or 4 instances, like Echo and some other things we've seen. But yeah, I did think that added like an interesting element to it. And then the character of Kathleen was not actually in the game. They actually like it was kind of like you didn't know specific characters as much that were in this like resistance group. That was kind of interesting that they also made her like almost like meek a little bit.
Yeah.
Which was kind of interesting. Like I don't know if I was kind of like, yeah, like would someone like that actually rise to like a leadership position? Like I guess they could. Like it just depends on like how things played out. But yeah, those are the main things.
Yeah, no, you brought up some kind of overlapping stuff that I wanted to talk about. I mean, also my question in the game, one of them was he deaf in the game, because it's used almost as a strength in this, which I really enjoyed. So I didn't know if that was more for the TV show purposes, which it sounds like it is, but man, they did such a good job of making you care so much about these brothers in not a lot of time. And obviously when that reaches its emotional conclusion, I was just really stuck at like, wow, I can't believe that I care so much about these brothers, that the impact of the end was so heavy, So I really like that. I loved in the game when they go through the tunnels. Do you see that? Like, is that a level where you're going through the tunnels? Or because one thing I was struck by was they get out of the tunnel, they're in their neighborhood, and I was kind of disappointed, kind of similarly to episode 3, where I was disappointed that Ellie and Joel, you didn't see them kind of traverse to get to Frank's house and have to go through, the different bosses or whatever you want to say to get to their house. I was a little disappointed that we didn't get to see them fighting through the tunnel, because they set it up so much and they put so much emphasis on, Henry's basically like, I'm bringing you along as muscle because I don't have it in me. And then the turn.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, once they get into the neighborhood and, all of the people and Kathleen, they corner them. But the truck at the very beginning that Joel shoots the driver, he crashes into a house. The house bursts into flames. And then the truck starts sinking into the ground, into what I guess presumably is like a sinkhole. And then you find out it's actually one of the tunnels. And all of that stuff that they set up 20 minutes, 30 minutes into the, before in the episode pays off so well. And I felt like an idiot because I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, why are you expecting them to give you? And that's really one thing I'll say about this show. What you expect them to give you, they don't necessarily always follow through on in a positive way. I fell for the traps. I fell for the video game aspect of the show.
You fell for the sinkholes.
But little touches like that are cool because it's like you're not playing the game, you're watching a show. It's a different entity. It's a different way of telling the story. So when that paid off, man, it was awesome. But let's talk about
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, it is kind of like you're expecting. I feel like the game, or I feel like the show does a good job of like, it's kind of like maybe just so much of watching Walking Dead, or at least old Walking Dead, of like anytime you're wondering if something bad is gonna happen, it always happens.
Yeah.
Which is like fine, but also like we've kind of seen that so many times that it's kind of refreshing to see something where it's like, oh, they did make it through the night. Like, okay, so it's almost like adds to the suspense.
But like that's what I'm talking about too when I'm like I'm just burnt out on zombie stuff. That's why, because we talk about all the time, like you see a lot of modern comedy is one joke, and they'll put they'll exhaust a joke, because with a lot of stuff, especially sketches, especially like comedic movies, you have one overarching joke like that, ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys with other jokes. And in zombie stories, I feel like it's similar, where we get it. It's a zombie apocalypse. That's what the premise of the show is. But how are you going to find ways to circumvent that in each season? And if you don't, then it just becomes the same repetitive thing. And I think, to your point, that's what we've seen with The Walking Dead. I think that's why The Walking Dead fell off. because people realized after season 2, like, this is going to be the same thing. And yeah, there's new characters introduced, characters come and go, but at the same time, it's still just a zombie apocalypse. This is just so much about, they're able to take this overarching, this huge big picture thing and really whittle it down into this intimate story, which culminates, at the end of this episode. I don't feel like I've had such a strong emotional reaction. Again, I wasn't blubbering or whatever, but it really, like, you feel at the end of this episode, and spoilers, I mean, this definitely is spoilers, but when Henry shoots Sam, number one, that whoever directed this episode did an amazing job, because that scenario, I mean, they put you into that room and into the head of Henry having to make the choice to shoot his little brother, and then his reaction after, which is like, what did I just do? And then Joel sees it. Joel sees where it's going as soon as it happens.
Yeah.
And his whole thing is like, I have to de-escalate the situation.
You need to give me the gun right now.
Yeah. And it just, man, the tension and the heightening of that scene was so good, and I didn't see it coming. There's so many points in this episode where I thought we were winding down and we were at the end of the episode, and then they just ramp it back up, with different stuff. And then the other thing I loved was the very end of the episode, after they bury Henry and Sam, and Ellie kind of has this weird moment of like going off by herself, and you're like, what's she doing? And then she just turns around to Joel and is like, let's keep moving. And it was such a cool character moment, because you really see how far she's come only, in these 5 episodes.
It's like simultaneously, like, she's growing stronger, and that's like simultaneously a really good and bad thing, where, like, I think for Joel, like, that kind of catches Joel off guard, and she's like, it's like really sad, because it's like, oh, this is a 14-year-old that's super hardened. Yeah. All of a sudden, that has to be like, and that's like not fair at all. It's like definitely depressing, but like, you got to do what you got to do. Also, that's how you survive. So, yeah, I was gonna say too. Yeah, like his performance with the gun when he has to shoot his brother at the end was like, I don't think I've seen anything that like plays out quite like that.
Yeah,
where his his immediate instinct was to shoot him, because he's infected, because he's a zombie, and then it takes him a couple seconds to realize like what he just did, like on instinct. And so you see it afterward. Like, we're so used to seeing the build up to shooting, like, oh no, how can I do, like, sort of a thing. Whereas this is kind of like the reverse, which was interesting. And then he has this like crazy freak out moment like after that. Another interesting thing, like I thought the fact that they were brothers, because I also had forgotten that they were brothers, adds like such an interesting dynamic to Henry's character, because we're used to seeing like parental figures, and like I think we kind of get that, like, obviously as a parent you have to, or even as like a Joel Ellie relationship, like that's your responsibility. It's something you kind of signed up for, right, to like protect them. But with brothers, it's kind of like, you didn't necessarily sign up for that. Like, they're your brother. You're kind of just thrust into that, like when something happens to your parents.
Yeah.
So it was interesting seeing Henry, like trying to be like a father figure, but not really know what he's doing at all, and sort of being forced to like grow up more than he probably should either.
Well, and the sacrifices that, he has to make to get to that point, and for his brother, and this outlaw on the run, and then you find out he ended up killing Kathleen's brother, and he's public enemy number 1, and how that related with Joel and Ellie, I thought was also a really cool connection. And
again, he's kind of like, I actually kind of deserve this. Like, it's not like a simple thing where it's like, I'm good and they're bad. It's like, and that's what the game was all about. It was like, anytime, you see somebody is kind of like the protagonist or like a supporting character, like it turns on you and you find out more things about it. Then you're like, oh, okay, well, it's a lot of it is just so much about perspective and like,
Yeah, certainly. But I thought it was great. Vince, what did you think about episodes 4 and 5 of The Last of Us? We haven't heard much of your opinion on this stuff.
Dude. I really liked them. To go back to a few of the points you guys made, was her name Kathleen? The character, the one that
named after Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, oh, really? I did not like her like character. I don't know if I really care for that actress. So spoilers, the fact that she died at the end, I was very excited about. I feel like
Damn.
I feel like the way that they kind of did the storytelling in this was confusing because they never really gave you the answer till the end of why she was like so cutthroat about this, and then you slowly got details as it went. You slowly figured out that it was an uprising of the people that were raped and murdered for 20 years from, what was the name of the organization that?
Fedra, yeah, because
Fedra.
Fedra is really like the, it's really what the government like turned into.
Yeah, so
To handle it, but of course when when shit hits the fan, it ends up being like there's people in power and there's not people in power, and those people are gonna try to enslave the other people, and
so the way that they like kind of tied it all together, I loved. But during it and not having those answers, well, I don't know. Like at first, I was like, "Oh, I fucking hate this character. Why is she here? Why is she so upset? Why is she?" I think Eli said like kind of timid, but in control of everything. And then her like right hand man at some point was like, "Oh, your brother was the blah blah blah, but you were the one that like had the plan," and whatever he said about that. And I was like, okay, but I still feel like that character like is not believable in the sense of like taking.
I really like that element of it.
Did you?
Like that it was an unconventional warlord, head of a faction of resistance fighters. I appreciated that it wasn't the traditional like stereotype of that role.
Yeah,
because to me it's like in talking about world building and really Vince, like the cool thing about you referenced it in episode 3 about how they're building out the universe of The Last of Us. And I felt like that really played in. I was thinking about that a lot during this episode because it really played into that, and so to me, it just like reinforces the idea that this is a group of humans. It's a group of humans that are set on a certain way or understand a way of life, especially American characters that are used to a certain way of life or certain personalities. And it's for me, that choice and that actress and the way she portrayed that role, I appreciated because it kind of made the diversity of thought in terms of who would rise to the top in this world, in a post-apocalyptic world. Maybe it could be somebody that's just a dick and ruthless, which is what she was, but she went about it in a different way that I didn't see coming. And there was a lot in this episode that they set up things that they didn't reveal till the end, but I felt like the payoff was great because of that.
The payoff was
I think
great.
it alludes to the fact that it's like kind of it seemed like she was kind of ruling along with her brother for a while, and he was more the idealistic one that was like,
forgive.
Hey guys, we need to not give up on each other and band together. And like she was the more like realistic one that's like, it's like, hey, your brother was great. He honestly was like the best person I've ever known. But like actually your decisions are what like got us results because we just slaughtered everybody. So I thought, that aspect of it was interesting.
And she also kind of mentioned that like her brother was the one that kind of kept her as like the not timid, but like not burn the earth down. And now that he's gone, like her true self can come out, and like the optimism died with him, which was cool. Again, I think I just go back to me not being the biggest fan of that actress. Another thing I don't think you guys mentioned yet. What'd you guys think of the very end when Ellie sees that the boy is bitten and she's like, "Oh my God, I can fix this, and my blood is the medicine." Like how much of that?
I was going to go back to that. That was one of my favorite moments because
it gave like
cool.
optimism, like, "Oh, there's a way out of this," and then you find out after that that's not the case at all.
Yeah, that to me too was also a reminder that she's 14 too, to be like, oh no, this is the whole thing. Like my blood like can help people. That's like why. So like, oh, it's cool. Like I can fix this. It like it was like a childish way to like because she wasn't freaking out at all. It was like, okay, like she didn't run and tell Joel. Like it was like, oh yeah, we can like do this. And maybe part of her probably knew that like that wasn't gonna work, but like. That I don't know. Yeah, that was just such a pure like pure moment of like, no adults in the room, just seeing like this new dynamic.
Just a kid thinking that she can fix everything by smearing her blood on it.
Yeah, and then carrying the guilt when that doesn't work. I thought that was a really nice payoff too,
and leading to hardening her even more.
The note that she wrote and left on his grave, I thought was, dude, it was just devastating. Like that episode was really devastating in the best way possible. And Yeah, I'm really excited to see, we're I guess at the halfway point of this season, so I'm really excited to see where it ends up and where it goes, and kind of reflecting with you guys that are familiar with the game on how much of it, because that's a great resource that I get to play, or a great resource that I have while I'm watching the episodes, because I can kind of sit there and go, I bet this was in the game. And then like a lot of the stuff you guys are saying is like stuff that, either was in the game that's not in the show, or, different motives, the different character portrayals and character, roles in the overall universe. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes though.
Maybe I could watch the next one with you and just sit next to you the whole time and go, that wasn't the game. That wasn't in the game. Or like I'm pointing out Stan Lee cameos. Well, that's Stan Lee. He created Marvel.
As if Eli doesn't know.
An episode that just turns into a 3-hour affair and dissection of gaming versus filmmaking in terms of story.
Oh man, but, I realize I don't remember anything about that game. Like we're watching and Paige is like, "Is this in the game?" And I was like, "I don't remember. I don't remember anything. I don't remember the
my
characters."
Wife has a better memory of like what exactly was in it, and yeah, when she was kind of calling out things, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right." But I do think, going back to what you said earlier, Eli, like, I can't help but compare the two, and kind of what you said were like, oh, I like, part of me kind of wishes you saw more of like, them getting through the tunnels. Like we didn't really see that, like, yeah, and that is such a big part of the game. Like obviously, like the game's like 40 hours for a reason, where like tons of it is like, I failed in killing this clicker 7 times and I'm really pissed now and I just want to fucking kill it. That eats up a lot of time. But it's also like, you spend a lot of time with them, like in the tunnels, like going from A to B, like, the whole game is like going from one place to another. And obviously there's a reason that's so much of that is cut out, but at the same time it does kind of make me think like, well, I actually feel like I grew with the characters a lot during those moments too, though, because like the voice lines are so good, the little conversations they're having with each other, like little discoveries of things. And so I don't know, I guess obviously it's a different medium. Like I think for the most part they're making all great decisions, but part of me hopes like they don't like rush it too much, that they they don't end up in like a Game of Thrones situation where it's like, we don't have any more material. Like, I hope they take their time and really like do it right. But yeah, I'm really liking it.
It seems like they're embracing the TV-ness of this this concept. And that's what's really cool, because again, you constantly see adaptations of video games, like that Uncharted game, which I understand, and Vince was saying, I think it was on the last show, that Naughty Dog makes that game as well. And that movie is so just like corporate, paint by numbers action story that you're not sitting there going like, you almost forget that it was a game in a bad way, where you're like, this is just a generic story. And I've never played Uncharted, so I don't know what that story entails either. But I assume it's something akin. It reminds me of like a Indiana Jones style kind of swashbuckling adventure game. But it just was so watered down and so generic, and nothing was memorable. So it just seems like the team and the people involved in this show are really sophisticated in terms of differentiating what the game story tells and how it's portrayed and how the TV medium is portrayed. So again, kind of saying the same thing now, but I'm really excited to see where it goes. And yeah, I did not anticipate liking the show as much as I do and looking forward to it each week. Maybe not on a Friday. Maybe, you just go against the big game, otherwise known as the Super Bowl. And it's so weird. I couldn't figure out, like, we live in an age where you watch everything. You don't watch things usually at the time that they air. You're watching them on HBO Max.
It was kind of weird.
I didn't even put two and two together.
But I think too, there's so much dialogue with this show that maybe they're just like, didn't want to take away from the dialogue of people talking about it. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. It's the buzz that they're looking for going into the weekend. And yeah.
Dave, what you said too, I think like with Uncharted, it's like it's true that like, but that is sort of like the formula we've had forever with video game adaptations into films and movies, which is why they're never good. Where it's always like they get writers or filmmakers in there that are like, well, I don't really play the game, but like, I think I can make it better by doing all these other things and making it this other thing. And then it's like, they're never good.
Or it becomes the greatest hits of the game. It's like, we're going to hit all of our action pieces. We're going to base on like, what do people like most about the game, instead of like the meat and bones of what the game is and what what's the heart of it, story is. Yeah.
Yeah. What do we want to take that's like amazing, and what, can be changed or altered to, better this other medium? Yeah, for sure.
Vince, did you have it sounded earlier? Looked like you had something else.
Yeah,
to say
I was
about
just gonna add one thing. I don't know if Dave feels this way. I kind of want them. I don't know if it would be like an after the fact, like after the show thing, but I kind of want them, like you mentioned. I like the game aspect of it, of them like running through the tunnels and dying. Like I kind of want that, and then them resetting as if it didn't happen. Like I don't know how they would be able to do that, but just Ellie, like, because I've been playing the game, and if you fuck up, like one of the clickers just tears your throat out.
Oh, dude, yeah, they
Like,
they
how
don't they
amazing
make you
would that be?
watch as you
Yeah.
get ripped to pieces, dude.
And it's so
horrifying.
intense, dude. So I can just imagine
Yeah.
like if it started, like maybe they started out like that, and she's through the tunnel and she fucks up, makes a sound, it bites and rips her throat out, and then she wakes up, and then it's just a dream. But like that would be so
wait,
intense.
can I pitch you?
Dude.
Can I pitch you
To
the
make
name
you
of
go
the
through
episode?
that, yeah.
Yeah,
The
dude.
name of the episode is Respawn.
Yeah, oh, dude,
And
that's what I
it's-
mean.
But they go back through the entire season, and just like each sequence is a different sequence from the previous episodes, where the mission that they had succeeded in they end up dying. And it's a total parody, and it's a joke, right? And it's played like it's comedic
Yeah.
and not like trying to be serious. Dude, that would win like
It would
Emmys
be
if they
it would
did
be
that.
insane, especially because like if they went
It would
balls,
piss a lot of people off, but I think it'd be hilarious.
But if they went balls out and like made it as graphic as the video game, it would be insane, dude.
Well, it kind of like at the end when you see the it's kind of in the background, but when you see the bloater just rip the dude's head off, the lieutenant dude, that's the kind of thing where like you get desensitized to like playing the game, because you fuck up so many times and you have to watch yourself, like your throat being ripped out or like whatever. It's almost like it makes you like the characters in the game, because you feel like you've gone through like
You don't want
so
them
much
to
heartache
die.
to like get them to where they are. You're like,
I can relate.
yes, I've finally done this. Like,
And
you
it
feel
also, like-
hardened and like
It
yeah,
like
like,
sits
we even
there
made
with it.
I don't live in your world, but I can relate with it. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't yeah, it's like things like that where I do kind of still feel like, okay, I mean, the game is still like the best way to play this, but the show's good too.
Well, speaking of gaming, there's a new game out that's taking the world by storm that
You might have heard of it.
Dave and I have partaken in. We're talking about Hogwarts Legacy. Now, this is not just a regular game that comes out and is either good and people like it, or bad and people don't like it. This game has forced people to separate sides of the aisle. So, not going to focus on that so much, but all that to say, Hogwarts Legacy has come out. It's the open world, wizarding world prequel, I guess, to Harry Potter. I don't know. Have you heard? Is it like canon? Is this part of the Harry Potter lore?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be, but I also think it takes place in the 1800s, so it's like I feel like they picked a time that was as far away from possible of Harry Potter to be like, okay, this has nothing to do with that, but it's still, and like I don't know how you feel about it. I know we've been texting each other just ridiculous things about like what we've gone through.
Yeah.
But like yeah, like I almost feel like, because I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan, but like, even
You
though
got to read the books.
even though I look Harry Potter-esque, but like, I feel like the game is almost like, again, I didn't read the books. I only watched the movies. I kind of feel like the game is putting the movies to shame, because it focuses on like the best part, whereas like to me, like the characters aren't actually that interesting in Harry Potter. Like Hermione just basically does everything,
Yeah.
and everyone else is kind of worthless, and Harry's just kind of like inherits a legacy by not even proving anything. But sorry, Harry Potter fans, but I feel like the game is like takes all the best qualities, which is like the mythology, like the houses, and like how like the enemies you encounter, and all like the coolest aspects of it, which is why I'm kind of enjoying it.
Well, they literally, I mean, the cool thing is they literally give Hogwarts itself its own lore. And I don't know, I'm with you. I've watched, I enjoy the movies on like a popcorn level. Some of them are not very good and not like fun to watch. Some of them are kind of a drag, but Hogwarts itself in this game is like enchanted with ancient magic, which is kind of the premise of the whole game and your character and how that relates to the world. But I 100% agree with you. I think one of the thing I text you was I've been playing for 4 hours and I feel like I understand more about the wizarding world than I ever did from any of the movies. And part of that is like kind of what we're talking about with The Last of Us. You have so much time to spend in this world and explore, and I haven't even gotten to that aspect yet. The actual real open worldness. I still feel like I'm in the realm of learning and the tutorial teaching you kind of how this whole thing works.
Okay,
but
stop teaching me.
just let me be my own, which but it's so fun. It's so fun to just roam around, and the quests are really fun. The mechanics of the game are really fun. The fighting sequences and the fighting mechanics of the game are awesome, and work really well in a way that like I never thought, because we've talked about that too, where it's like fighting with wands should be way cooler. That's their lightsaber, right? That's their lightsaber battles, and they're just never that awesome as they could be. This game has found a way to make the mechanics of it, the style of fighting, really fun, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. Like I said, I haven't even really scratched the surface of this thing, but to me, it reminds me my favorite game of all time is Red Dead Redemption 2, especially like the online version. So I hope that Hogwarts opens up a online multiplayer. I think, man, I can't even imagine how much fun that would be.
And Eli, for those of you that don't know, goes to real dark places. He did in Red Dead too. So I think you were saying that your objective in this game is to try to emulate the darkness of your Red Dead 2 experience as much as possible.
I'm really trying to ascend to the heights of Voldemort, and I don't know how to do that yet, but I do know that all of my responses to everything in the game so far is really just to be a dick. That's the way I play Oregon Trail. That's the way I play everything. It's like you gotta, if you want to be, it's everything. Okay, look, I'll say it like this: my characters in gaming, when I'm forced to make choices, they're all the choices and instincts that I don't have as a real human being. So I would never take a girl's diary on false pretenses and then not get it back just to blackmail her, right? But I will in Hogwarts. I'll go hard, and I'm very unlikable. Same way with Red Dead. Red Dead, my honor level. I mean, I don't know if you can get negative stars, but I had negative stars. But I love Red Dead so much, and there's so much about this game that reminds me of Red Dead. And like I said, I hope they open it up more. I hope they introduce an online mode. I think that's the natural next step of this thing. But I'm really having fun with it, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I'm having a lot of fun with it.
I feel like you're kind of giving Slytherin a bad name. But
dude, there's no way I could give it a worse name
but
than
also,
Salazar already gave to it. All right, Salazar is the king dick of Slytherin.
The king dick.
King dick. But it also makes you wonder, like, why the hell can they not make a Marvel like MCU game or Star Wars game that's comparable? I mean, they kind of did it with Knights of the Old Republic, but why isn't there a world where you can just?
Well, I'd say Fallen Order is super good.
Fallen Order is good, but it's just not like, I don't know. I just want a very simple game, Star Wars universe, different systems that they can update with new levels, new systems, new characters, and you have different roles: bounty hunter, Jedi, Sith.
Yeah, it's less. Because it's more. Because Fallen Order is like heavy story. It's less. Less like role, like RPing. Really, like you can't customize anything much.
Yeah, and I think, like, going back to Hogwarts Legacy, I think the one complaint that we kind of have is the sorting system of how you get into a house is so easy to manipulate that I want less control. I was kind of hoping for less control over that. I was kind of hoping that you could kind of make your character, kind of like we were talking too about the Pottermore website. You can go and do the sorting hat through the website, and it's really intuitive. And they ask you a lot of questions.
Super in depth. Yeah, find out your what's it called? The spirit animal. I forgot what they call.
I know
your wand. Like everything about it is like super in depth, which is fun. And you can actually make your accounts and use that, which is pretty cool. Oh, Patronus. Yeah.
Sorry to be the resident Potter nerd. I never thought I would describe myself as that.
It's called Patronus.
It's similar to a pensive. It's actually not. It's way different. But yeah, so to see where it's going. Vince, have you seen anything about Hogwarts Legacy, or have you been watching anything? I know that you haven't purchased the game yet.
No, I plan on getting it soon. All I've really seen and kind of was laughing about was just kind of the controversy behind it.
Yeah.
It's just wild, dude. It's wild
pretty
wild. Be that upset about something where, like, instead of just talking about it all day long, just maybe don't buy it or don't participate in making it if you're that.
Yeah, don't create like Schindler's lists of people that stream
dude.
it, you know, and try to bury people.
Yeah,
maybe.
try to bury people because they are just doing their own thing. I really want to check it out, though.
All unify and like critiquing the movies, you know. I feel like will really bring everybody together. That's the place to put that energy, I think, you know.
Yeah, I do want to check it out. I saw a few things that made me more excited about checking it out. It was talking about how depending on which house you choose, the game is completely different. And there's certain game. I'm not a Harry Potter nerd such as yourself, Eli. But one of the houses allows you to be able to.
It's relative.
You're blowing my mind.
Pinso.
What is it? The Prisoners of Azkaban? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Is that a thing? One of the houses, I think it's like the least liked house, is the only house you're able to experience that in the game. So I saw an Instagram post talking about how like no one's able to go to the one spot that they want to go to because no one's
Hufflepuff?
picking. I think is Hufflepuff the hated one? What is it? Slytherin, Hufflepuff, Hufflepuff?
In different ways.
It gets the least respect. I think.
Okay.
I can say that.
I think it gets the least. It's the most made fun of, I would say.
What are the other two houses?
There's Gryffindor and
Ravenclaw.
Maybe it's
Ravenclaw is kind of like the most like knowledge based.
And let's be honest, like the opinions of the houses that people have are all based on the fact that there weren't any major characters really from Hufflepuff or Ravenclaw, with the exception of like Edward. What's the dude's name from Robert Pattinson's character, who I think was Hufflepuff. And Goblet of Fire, but
it's basically just like if you're not in Gryffindor, you suck, and no one cares.
If you're Slytherin, you're pure evil.
Yeah, you're just a dick.
I have a question.
Whereas the game's doing a good job with that because there's awesome Slytherin characters that are like really cool.
I would definitely go Slytherin. I don't know how far into the game you guys are. Do you ever leave Hogwarts? Like, do you get to go? Yeah, can you go to like the bank?
Yeah.
And you
what's crazy is like even Hogwarts alone is like huge, dude.
Yeah,
like
seems like it would be.
Like we're like 12 hours in and still finding parts of Hogwarts we'd never went to. Like it's literally like as big as Hogwarts is, and there's tons of stuff. But yeah, then there's also like tons of stuff. That's like Hogwarts is only like one part too of probably like several huge sprawling areas. So
okay, and it's open world. Are there areas? Is it? Did you guys ever play Fallout? Is it where like
yes,
you can go and like make a wrong turn and then it's like level 80 guys that just completely fuck you up? Is that how the game is made, or?
It's not quite that open world. It's a little more like you can't. I don't know if you could really just go through the entire game to the other side. I think it corrals you like a little bit.
Okay.
It's not as like, because it's a little more story driven than like, Skyrim and Fallout are like at the complete end of the spectrum of like, you can do whatever you want. You can be whoever you want. Like, we're not going to tell you what your character is. Whereas this is kind of maybe like, in the middle, sort of like,
the bumpers are up.
Student, you have to go to class.
Gotcha.
Like, you have to like,
gotcha.
I was almost like hoping that it was a little more within confines, actually. And typically I like to have as much freedom as possible, but in this case, I'm actually like, like you don't have to ever sleep or do anything, which is like, I get why they don't do that, obviously, because it's like, you don't want it to seem like you're playing The Sims, but like, at the same time, like, I want to feel like I'm a student at Hogwarts. So I was kind of hoping they would like, you can just walk around in the dead of night and do whatever you want and no one's around you. And I'm like, could you really get away with doing that? Like if you were a student in Hogwarts, I don't know.
Yeah, that would be like even like I don't know how much you play computer games, but have you heard of Escape from Tarkov?
Oh, I haven't played it.
Like you're running around and like you have to remember to drink, and like there's so many details where it's like you're a fucking living thing, so you also have to remember to like survive, let alone play the game.
Yeah, like a survival game.
Yeah. But I was asking if it's kind of like Fallout because I kind of feel like I need those guardrails, because in Fallout I would always turn the corner and I would get fucked up and it would just ruin the game because then I'd forget where I was supposed to go, and it didn't have those guardrails. So I can see like needing them, but also it's kind of cool to have the open world aspect to do whatever you want to. It would be cool if you're like missing class and you got a detention and you were forced to like do something you didn't want to do.
Yeah, something like that would kind of be like would be interesting. But yeah, I was gonna say too, like apparently, so so Quidditch is not in the game, which is pretty crazy because it's such a big part of like the Harry Potter lore. And I was trying to figure out why that was, and I saw different articles like apparently it was going to be in the game, but there's like rumors that they like cut it like a month before release. So it must have been either like they ran out of time, and so they ended up just making it a part of the story that like the headmaster stops Quidditch, or they were like, well, we should add that to a DLC that we'll put that in later. Maybe we'll add the multiplayer like Eli was saying.
Maybe they only had boys and girls teams, and they're like, fuck, we're going to get in trouble for this one.
Vince always coming in hot with the controversy, dude.
And then he disappears, dude.
Dips out. Yeah, so I'm with you. I hope that, like with what you were, I wanted to go back and say, like, kind of comment on that too. I really do appreciate how they use that classes at Hogwarts though to teach you, because it's just a giant tutorial, right? Of like, here's how charms work, here's how spells work, here's how to use your wand, here's how to fight with it. But I appreciate how they're using that, and they're using Hogwarts to kind of guide you through the game. So yeah, I'm going to keep going. I can't wait to, maybe we'll have to do a Hogwarts segment where we just update where we're at, or maybe that's enough said. Maybe we said everything there is to say about it. But yeah, I hope that they open up that DLC for, can you imagine if they find a way to make the Quidditch aspect like a sports game in and of itself? Like that would be insane. And had it online, like you'd have massive tournaments, and people would go nuts for that. Yeah, so.
I mean, I remember like Final Fantasy X when it came out was like one of the first games I remember to like have like a fully original sports game like in it, and it was kind of like soccer-esque a little bit, but like that was like super fun, like learn to do that. And I was just gonna say one more thing, like with the houses, like I think they like I said, I think did a cool job of like balancing the houses, but also like the dormitories for each one is like pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah,
like
sure.
I mean, like I saw the Slytherin one is like really cool because like, and it's something that you don't really see in the movies that I remember. Like they're so dope. Like the Slytherin one is under the lake. So it's like all around you is like you're seeing like fish outside and like come through the thing. Like you feel like you're in a snake den, but you feel like you're like underwater. It's like so dope. And then like I know like the Hufflepuff one is like there's like plants everywhere and like sun streaming in and stuff. And then like I saw like Ravenclaw too. That's like you're up in the high towers, like you feel like you're like in the clouds, like pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll have to, if they open it up maybe to online or add DLCs, we can kind of revisit this. But Dave, there's something else that just dropped this week that I know that you're not as excited as I am for, but you brought in the trailer, which I think is worth watching. I love the ironic Fast and Furious watch. I love that they're not good movies, but they find a way to double down on how stupid they are in every movie. I don't know. Did you guys ever? No way you guys watched Fast 9, right? The last Fast and Furious movie.
I didn't.
Dude, they literally go to space, and I think it's a Supra.
It's amazing, dude.
Nice.
And it's Tyrese and Ludacris are the ones that use. They use a Supra. I think it's a Supra. They use a Supra to fly into space and go to the International Space Station. So
see, this is one of the rare like franchises where I'm like, the dumber and worse it gets, the more I'm interested. Because I'm like, oh, they go to space, like I'm in, dude.
Exactly, and it's the most like even in this. And I'll save my next comment until we watch the trailer because I know we're gonna watch it. But there's a scene in it that's so egregious that they didn't even bother to CGI out the damage that occurs to this car. Like there's a scene where Vin Diesel drives off an airplane. The car lands on the freeway, and the car does what an actual car would do in our atmosphere. In
reality,
it bows in the middle and like splits apart, and he keeps driving it. It's like physics don't matter, none of that stuff. The realities of our world don't matter. It's become Vin Diesel really has taken Fast and Furious and modeled it after superhero movies, is what he's done, which. Yeah. It's not like the aspects of superhero movies that people really, go, wow, that was amazing. Winter Soldier was amazing. There's so many things that happened in plot turns and character turns and, twists and things that I didn't see happening. the Fast and Furious franchise, if you watch the first Fast and Furious movie, which is like, I would say a good action movie, a good procedural cop movie, interesting. Every movie after that gets progressively, like, they get away from the grounding of that first movie, and it just becomes this crazy, crazy thing. And then after Paul Walker died, it gets even crazier. Like they
Paul Walker was the only thing keeping it grounded.
I really think so. There's nobody telling Vin Diesel like, "Hey, whoa, hold on a sec, let's pump the brakes." I don't think Tyrese and Ludacris should go to space in a Supra. Like, I don't know, but
so we got to take it to the next level.
We got to go to space. We got to go to space.
They should retcon it to where like they reveal that he has midi-chlorians or something, like some kind of explanation of why he's a superhero.
What's going on in that head of yours?
Something little B said it. He said, Dad, they're not afraid of anything. But I am. I'm afraid of losing someone I love.
Dominic Toretto, you're about to learn all about fear. Boom! You built such a beautiful life, filled with love and family.
I never got that chance.
You stole that from me. My future. My family.
And now,
I'm gonna break yours. Piece by piece.
He's coming for you with everything.
What's the plan, Dom?
I'm not sure anymore.
One of us might not come back from this. But we have to fight.
Never accept death when suffering is owed.
Armed and dangerous. Ain't too many can bang with us. Label us notorious.
It's a setup.
He's trying to tear us apart.
Our situation is type 1. What you gonna do? Fight or run? Winning used to be about winning. We raced for respect. Today, I raced to stop the bloodbath.
That's the problem with having such a big family. How do you choose the ones you save?
Let's race! Ain't too many can bang with us. Label us notorious.
You still know how to drive? What do you think?
It's showtime.
Here we go!
Game recognizes game.
I'm coming for you, son.
Here they come.
You will never be able to break my family.
Good morning, sunshine.
You gotta be kidding me.
Dude, game respects game was one of the lines from this
Game
trailer,
respects game.
and I gotta give him credit for that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
well,
Fast X.
that's sweet, dude.
I think what this is going to require is a Fast and Furious deep dive of all 9 movies before this one comes out, boys. We might
Dude,
just have to-
I think like I'm pretty sure I've only seen Tokyo Drift. So
Yeah, Dave, I'm with you. Is that 3 or 4?
that's 3.
Which
When-
one? Yeah, I
when
think that's
did
the only
4,
one
5,
I've ever
6,
seen.
and 7 and 8 come out? Because I don't remember those coming out at all.
Pick any year in the last 15, dude.
Dude, what?
That's when they came out.
Yeah.
I thought they went from 3 to 9.
They really, I mean,
Though they won't remember. Just say it's
Yeah.
9.
they really they really lean into the wackiness of it. Yeah, so that's Fast X. We'll see what they give us this time, but
might
I
see that
really, it'd be fun if we could find a way to do a live watch or a live stream and watch these together, since especially if you guys have never seen some of the later Fast and Furious movies, I really think it would be worth our time to watch them for the buildup of Fast X. I think that there's a lot of comedy to be had there.
Remember, it's the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
So you want to watch it as if it's the end, but there's going to be 5 more.
So it's
get
not
ready.
the end? It's
No.
the beginning to the
No,
end?
it's not the end. It's the beginning of the end.
It's
Can
the
I-
road to the end. We don't know how big that road is.
My question. The helicopters shoot those things into his car. He jumps the car into a lower level, pulling the helicopters together, crashing them. They're still attached. How is he still driving with 2 broken helicopters attached to him?
Because, dude, the horsepower and NOS.
okay,
I mean, that's
100
easily.
100%. It's going to be because he hit the NOS button, dude.
Okay.
That's what they're setting up. For that.
Am I
The NOS
asking
is
too many like
everything
realistic
in that series?
too many realistic questions for that trailer?
It's also they use a lot of anachronistic things because like when Fast and Furious came out, like racing culture was really big, and it's not really. I mean, it is within like car, like car clubs and stuff. And
NASCAR is like pretty big now, right? Because they had like that documentary that came out or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not sure about that, but street racing is not what it used to be, or at least in like terms of pop culture. But they still embrace like everyone is like we're gonna race at the end of this to decide who wins. And yeah,
You already decided.
this is the beginning of the end. Can you just give me the end? So yeah, we'll revisit that one. That's good times. Another movie that was announced. Disney came out. Bob Iger had a shareholder meeting and he announced 3 new movies coming out that they're working on. One of which is Toy Story 5, Frozen 3, which I always figured was inevitable because the first 2 movies made so much money, and that kind of is like the one Disney movie that like transcended the genre almost.
Dude, but Toy Story 5, dude, when does it end, man? I will say, though, I was highly skeptical of 4. I was like, dude, leave it alone. I think we all said this. Toy Story 3 was an epic conclusion. They did it anyway, and I enjoyed Toy Story 4. I thought I had a nice arc for Woody. So I don't know,
Toy
man.
Story 4 is a good movie. It does pale in comparison of the first 3, in my opinion, quite a lot. So I think you're right, dude. The ending of Toy Story 3 is so freaking good. And that was a movie we all saw together at the time. I remember, like, we all watched that movie in the same theater.
Every millennial saw it at simultaneously.
Dude, and it just everybody in our row, people I knew, people I didn't know, were just completely wrecked by it. So look, here's my stance on Toy Story. Keep giving me Toy Story movies. I'm never going to be pissed because you're going to do a Toy Story movie. It seems to be the one IP that they have where they've done sequels and they tend to make good sequels to Toy Story. So I'm hoping that trend continues.
But it better be good, dude. If it's not really good, the whole world's gonna be pissed.
I know, and it's like it's such a but I think I think this is all reactionary to, number one, as we all know, Disney's been losing a little bit of steam in terms of on the Disney Plus side. The box office of the last 2 big Disney animated movies and Pixar animated movies. The last one was Strange Worlds. Before that, it was Lightyear. Both did not make. Not sure if they broke even, but they certainly didn't make the movies that some of the other, the amount of money that some of the other Pixar movies made. So I don't know. This seems very reactionary. It seems very much like Disney signaling, like, "Hey, we're going back to the old norms. Come see our
Bob
movies
Iger's
again."
back, baby.
Tim Allen, within a day, was on Twitter going like, "I'm back in the movie." So, like, I think that they're trying to really like get
Tim
people
Allen,
back.
please come back. We're sorry.
He's like, on the strength of the Santa Claus series. Tim Allen,
I'm back.
But
I'm gonna ask the question that is on all our minds. What about Planes 2? When is that?
That already came out, dude. You mean Planes 3? Planes 2 exists.
Oh
it's
my
called
God, what?
Planes Fire and Rescue, dude.
Dude, I had to miss that.
Yeah, I mean,
All right, what
I don't
about
blame
Cars
you.
4?
I can't believe they haven't done a Cars 4. I can't believe they've never done a Cars 4. I can't believe, dude, Inside Out 2 is coming out, which that's another one where
Dude, I'm stoked about that.
I'm stoked, but I'm also like, don't screw it up. Like the 1st one is pure, dude.
Let's we should do another episode where we rank our Pixar films. And
Ooh, that's good.
We should talk that because I think that's
good. Well, I think Elementals comes out in June, so maybe that's something we can save right before that comes out. And I like
Elementals.
I like the rankings, dude. That really forces you to think about like where you stand on these movies.
You love a good rank.
I think you do love a good rank. I think the world loves a good rank. I think that's the culture. The American culture has become a rank culture, so I'm stoked on that. But I don't really care about Frozen 3. You know, I have a 3-year-old daughter. She does not care about Frozen. It's kind of refreshing. I put Frozen on for her before, and she's just kind of like, that's kind of the general thing I get from her is like, I don't necessarily understand these movies, but Zootopia
goes, meh.
I'm like, wow, you're jaded so young. But the Zootopia
like Ellie.
2, Zootopia 2 was another movie that they announced. Again, Zootopia, the first one was all right. I thought it was kind of boring.
I wasn't a big fan of the first one.
Didn't have the charm of some of the other Disney movies that have come out. Was kind of preachy in a lot of ways that I was like, whatever about. But yeah, I mean, Disney definitely is in a weird transitional period. It seems like they don't really know what direction they want to take next. But I think, if you're going to do it, Toy Story 5 is a good way to start out. I think.
But Iger's back.
Iger's back, baby.
They're all, Iger, we really need you, man. I know you're on a desert island. I know you're on an island somewhere with the drink, but you need to come back and fix our sinking ship. And he's all right, let's do it.
He's like, what's my
That's
bonus?
what I picture.
What's my bonus structure again?
He's all, what's the bonus?
Yeah, I'll do it. I'm back.
He's like, okay, I'll come do it.
All right, dude. And next week we got Quantumania. So I don't know if we want to do a like Friday night or Thursday or like see it Thursday. If you guys are free to see it Thursday, maybe we do.
I can't wait for it personally.
I can't quantify that scheduling. I don't know.
I can't maintain my excitement.
That's better than anything I'm going to come up with because I'm not a pun guy. So
at least I committed to it.
Yeah, no, that's all you can do. You committed to the bit. But maybe we can next week we can go see it and then talk about it for next weekend. That'd be fun. I'm reserving judgment. I've ebbed and flowed, peaked and valley of my level of excitement for this one. Some of the reviews I've been seeing though, boys, not good. Not good.
Ooh, okay. I'm not gonna give my hopes up for this one.
Yeah, I just like what I keep reminding myself is it can't be as bad as Thor: Love and Thunder. So I think as long as it keeps its head above the Thor: Love and Thunder threshold.
I mean, that's a pretty low bar, dude.
Exactly. I don't think there's much. So do you boys have anything else on your minds you want to talk about this week before we get out of here?
I just wanted to end on one quote going back to Vin Diesel. He was asked on Variety, just talking about how many Fast and Furious there has been. And he said, Vin Diesel says he relates to why J.R.R. Tolkien stopped writing The Lord of the Rings. Quote, there's a reason why Tolkien stopped writing after a while, because it's so hard to continue mythologies.
Dude,
I just thought that was really funny. Like,
what a perfect way to end, the excitement of Fast X trailer is a delusional quote from Vin Diesel that does not relate at all to the cultural impact of J.R.R. Tolkien.
He's all, I get it. Once you keep going, it just becomes more and more relevant. And what are you going to do? There's
when you make a masterpiece, it's hard to continue.
But I mean, to me personally, Lord of the Rings is at the top of franchises, and Fast and Furious is right there.
Yeah,
maybe second best to all time.
And they give you more than you ever could have wanted. So what's better than that?
What more could you ever ask for?
Fast and Furious gluttony is way greater than Tolkien. So I'm glad we're ending on that one. But thanks, boys. Thanks, Vince, for sticking with us through all these crazy technical glitches. One day we're gonna figure out what's going on. But overall, excited about the future. Excited about the things coming up. Excited about episode 6 of The Last of Us, which premieres next weekend. So we'll have to revisit that when that comes out. But thanks for joining us. Go like and subscribe and share our audio podcast, Chance and Pinner Live, or Chance and Pinner Skipping Through the End Times, or
please subscribe.
any of our shorts, or our, anything on YouTube. Go check us out. Let us know. Give us your feedback, what you think. If you agree with us, definitely let us know and hype our egos up. If you disagree with us, let us know that too, because we'll
DM us with just straight hate, dude. That's cool. Just be
it's
like,
all engagement. It's all
you guys
hate.
all three have beards, and I hate you all.
Skipping through the end times.